Welcome to the 13th video in this series covering the fundamentals of screenwriting and storytelling. If you'd like to watch the rest of the videos, you can find them linked in the description or on the end screen of this video. In the previous video, I explained in detail how to get your first short script written, and in this video, I'm going to show you some of the common problems you might find in your own writing and how to fix them. If you've watched my live streams, you'll find that I come across a few short script problems very consistently. And so I want to show you some common mistakes that you may have in your own script. Let's begin. Number 1, no philosophical conflict. In all the short scripts I've read and short films I've watched, I could count on one hand the ones with any sort of clear philosophical conflict. This is a problem considering philosophical conflict is the backbone of great storytelling. It's why I spent so much time on it in my previous video. Let's take a look at a short film with this problem. In this short film Monday, we watch an Asian American hustler named Kwan go about his day selling all sorts of things, from drugs to a bike. But throughout the story, there is no philosophical conflict. We never understand why the characters are really doing what they're doing. We don't get any understanding of what the characters believe. The problem with this is that philosophical conflict is the foundation of a great story. Character action needs to be motivated by beliefs. If there are no beliefs in conflict in the story falls flat, and the audience is left asking, so what? To fix this, go back to the basics and focus on building a philosophical viewpoint versus viewpoint conflict. This will build the foundation of your story's conflict. As the writer, you should be fully aware of the philosophical conflict taking place in your story. You should apply philosophical beliefs to your characters. Number 2, no narrative structure. This breaks down into two real problems. Characters have no wants, and characters have no costs because of their actions. Regardless of whether or not you want to consciously follow Harmon's story circle, your story needs character wants and character costs to maintain story momentum. Characters have no wants. Many new writers fail to give their characters clear wants and goals, but this is the core of story momentum. Characters need to be moving in a direction. They need to want something. You can create a story without any character want, but it is no longer a dramatic narrative. It's something else. Characters heading towards what they want should come at a cost. This is what creates the compelling story momentum necessary for a dramatic narrative, and it gives real stakes to the characters' wants. Let's take a look at this short film, Union County. This is a beautiful, well-shot film with great acting, but the story is lacking. In Union County, we watch a character go through the motions of drug recovery. We don't have a clear understanding of what he really wants, other than to continue staying off drugs. He doesn't go after anything, and there's no costs or sacrifices because there is no action of the character going after anything in particular. We simply watch the character go about his days and then the story ends. And this is an issue. It means that it's very hard for the audience to empathize with what's happening. We're not invested in what the characters want because we don't really know what they want. We're not invested in what happens next because we aren't really empathizing with what the characters believe because we don't really know what they believe. This is a serious issue in a lot of short films. Writers want to break rules, but usually this is what they end up with, a story without any real momentum. And this is why structure matters. To solve this, clearly define your character's wants and then clearly describe the obstacles they will be facing. Don't overcomplicate it. This simple fix will give your story significantly more drive than before. Do not abandon dramatic narrative mechanics just because you're writing a short story. Principles still remain. Number 3, exposition for 90% of the story and then a twist at the end. This is something I see all the time in short scripts. For most of the story, nothing happens. We just learn about the character's world. They don't believe in anything, the characters take no actions until the very end of the story, where there is a big reveal that's supposed to wow and shock the audience. In reality, it does not. Building a story this way is boring because the audience is not attached to the characters. We don't care about an end reveal because there was no interesting story happening beforehand. So in this short film, Uncanny Valley, the story spends most of its time giving us exposition about this world. how the characters live, and how the virtual reality game works. We see a lot of cool visuals. This short is made by CGI professionals and they did an excellent job, but there is no story momentum. We just learn about some of these characters until the reveal at the end, where we realize that the virtual game also exists in reality. But this doesn't really mean anything to the audience because we don't know anything about the characters or what they want. And we know nothing about the people in real life who are getting killed. The end reveal should really be the unfamiliar situation that actually starts the story, but instead it happens at the very end. To solve this, build your story using actual dramatic structure. Use the story circle if necessary. Don't wait until the end of your story to have characters who have wants and take action. Characters should be taking action as soon as possible in your story. Number 4, the story happens off screen. A lot of the time I'll see characters talk about events or give exposition about things that have happened, and that becomes the entire story. Rather than us actually experiencing these events, we simply hear about them through characters speaking. Also, what I mean by this is that the story doesn't turn in any of these scenes, and what we learn is really just exposition and then the story finishes. Sometimes this is done for budget or other reasons, but it's always frustrating to see. Essentially, what you have is a story where characters stand around and give exposition about what happened somewhere else. In The Gatherer, a detective is interrogating a serial arsonist. Throughout the story, the detective asks him about different fires that have happened in the town. While this happens, we also intercut to the arsonist kidnapping and burning 2 people. Now here's the problem. The interrogation scene is simply spent arguing a little bit and giving the audience exposition. The detective doesn't learn anything new, and the arsonist doesn't take any real action. Then, in the other sequence where the arsonist burns 2 people in a car, he simply goes through the motions. Everything goes normally, he doesn't enter an unfamiliar situation, he doesn't face any obstacles. We simply watch him commit the crime. So the problem is that we only hear about most of the arsons, and in both the A and B sequences inside the short, nothing changes. The detective doesn't really learn any new information, he already believes this is the arsonist. And the arsonist simply goes about burning 2 people. Nothing changes. And so there's no narrative drive or structural momentum at all. It's simply exposition and then it ends. And this is what I see happen in a lot of these types of shorts, where most of the real action happens off screen and it's simply told to us through characters speaking to each other. To solve this, show the audience the events that the characters are talking about. Start there and then add dramatic structure to your story. The audience wants to see things happen, not simply hear about them. Remember, show, don't tell. Number 5, montages. A lot of short scripts rely on montages to give the audience what the writer thinks is important, crucial information. But most of the time, these montages are unnecessary. Montages weasel their way into short scripts for a variety of reasons. Sometimes the writer is trying to pass on a ton of unmotivated exposition to the audience. Sometimes the writer is trying to fit an entire feature-length story inside a 10-page short script. And sometimes the writer just isn't sure what to do next, so they montage. If we go back to the short Monday, we're given a quick montage when we meet the character Emma. The montage is just an exposition dump of backstory about Emma and Kwan's relationship. This is the problem with most short film montages. Most of the time they are a lazy way to just give the audience some quick information without properly motivating the exposition or using the information to attack the characters. Most of the time, and especially for new writers, avoid montages in your short scripts. Work on developing the skill of telling a full story in a short amount of time without having to turn to weak tactics like a montage. Don't use a montage to just pass off some quick exposition to your audience. It's not about always avoiding problems in your first draft. It's about being able to recognize problems and then fix them that will grow your skill as a writer. Your story is not going to be perfect after one draft. When you understand story principles, it will make it easier for you to find and fix the problems in your own story. Okay, so now you have a practical understanding of the fundamentals of screenwriting and storytelling. Now I have one more video for you to watch. In this final video, you're gonna get an understanding of where to go next. Now that you have all of this knowledge about the fundamentals of story, how do you begin to apply it and start improving your writing? So if you wanna check out the full playlist, you can click the link on the screen now. And if you like this video, leave a like and subscribe for more videos just like this one.